Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, it's working. Oh, really? Hello, MichICAN. It looks like Blog Talk Radio's got their stuff off the air, and we are our stuff fixed up, and we are on the air. I'm going to see if I can hear myself here. I should be able to be heard pretty good here. Oh, there it is, over the radio. We've got airwaves. All right. We are looking like we're back in play. All right. So it's been since last Thursday we've spoke. Friday was a swap. Saturday was a swap. There was nothing Sunday, and Monday, Tuesday was Blog Talk Radio issues. They started having issues last week, and that's pretty much why you haven't heard much of anybody or only heard some people. I would be willing to bet that was the problem Michael had last week too. So with that said, anybody listening, we are live on the air. We're good to go. MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. This is your host, Timothy. Call me Tim, call me asshole, call me a set of flapping lips. I've been married. So, if you want to call in, get on the air. We're going to get this out right now. 646-668-2239. If you want to call in, get on the air. The number is 646-668-2239. You can listen from there. We've got 50 slots open, and you can push 1 if you want to come in on the air and get live and join in and be heard. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, I had a few things got up to talk about last night and a few things to talk about the night before, but that didn't work out that way thanks to the hiccup issues they're having on BTR, but that's all right. We roll with the punches over here at MichICAN, and that's the way you got to do it. Just one step at a time and throw off the crap as it rolls downhill. So with that said, I'm hoping my host callers can get in here real shortly. I'm going to pop up a couple little posts up on the Facebook and let people know the show is live and actually on air. So bear with me about 1 second here. Sorry about the little extra long songs in the morning or in the beginning. I had an emergency phone call come in. I had to actually get taken care of. So it took me an extra song to get that done. Actually, an extra song and an intro. So, it's Wednesday, August 19th, 2015, and yesterday the paper went to the state to certify the group. So the statement of organization is in. They got it They will have it tomorrow, actually. And by Friday, they should hopefully have it processed, and we'll be having some paperwork coming back real shortly, taking the thing a little farther down the line. We'll get recognized with the state, with the organization, which means they're ready to accept language, and I'll be ready to submit it before too long here. Got it being looked at. I got to make a couple finishes up on it and having it looked at by, very competent eyes. And we will be sure it's as good as it could be, or can be, before it goes to the Board of Canvassers to be, okayed through the format and make sure everything's set up right. So, hopefully by the beginning of next week, around the 21st, well, I guess it's actually going to be 19, 20, probably about the 25th or so, we should be getting paperwork back official from the state to have an official organization. So, lots to catch up on, lots going on. Boy, oh boy, is there lots going on. Yesterday we had a meeting in Lansing, and they were talking about the provisioning centers and the new bill that they bring up. Oh, this one's a beautiful little thing that they put together. They put together another bill. I'm trying to dig it up here real quick here. They put up another bill that comes through judiciary, which talks about monitoring for the recreational cannabis system in the state to make it right. So I'm trying to pick up the actual verbiage here, but I got to go through. Here we go. This is it. Oh, so yesterday at the standing committee meeting, Representative Clint Kesto, chair, there was a notice for the judiciary for the meeting. And on the agenda was MJ Freeway Business Solutions on marijuana trafficking, or it says tracking. And then they were bringing up HB 4209, Carlton's bill on the medical marijuana, state and local regulation of marijuana. On that note, that's what we the people did with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. We did it in a constitutional amendment. Why does Lansing, with their legislation, one step below the Constitution, basically 2 steps below the Constitution, and 3 steps below we, the people who hold all the political power in this, in this state, which is inherent in the people, according to Section 1 of the Michigan Constitution, how do they think they can make these changes? Oh, that's right. They think they got their 75% supermajority, and they're going to be able to pass this thing in there. Not only that, they've got a new one, HB 4827, coming from Kesto himself, Marijuana Administration Seed-to-Sale Tracking System for Commercial Provisioning Centers Provided for Marijuana. Establish. So, we are talking a tracking system, seed-to-sale, which means you're going to be dotting the I's and crossing the T's in quadruplicate and breaching your own 4th and 5th Amendment rights in the process. Because I guarantee you, like I've been saying, since this legalization rambling's been talking, and since last fall, they're going to be trying to put in monitoring systems, and this is the first step. Seed-to-sale. You can guarantee that includes digital tracking from the seed when you buy it, from the store you buy it from. When it's at you, you grow it, and you're going to be tracked right from the time you bought it to the time you sold it back to the provisioning center. And what happens if they think you're moving a little too much to the provisioning center? I seem to remember some kind of limits in how much you could off each week or so often to the provisioning centers. So, these are regulations. Regulations need government agencies to regulate them. They need government agents to regulate them, and they need government agencies and agents in new law enforcement to enforce them. So, already in the last day, we've got the 4209, the 4210, marijuana-infused project, which are already, 4210's a farce. We already have it. Any preparation thereof covers everything that comes out of the cannabis plant, whether the plant is part of it or not. Yes, Lansing, we know this. 4209, again, more crap because Bill Schuette was flapping his lips before he was elected in 2010, saying, there is nothing in this act that's going to stop a provisioning center and a pot shop from opening next to your school and churches. And then he got elected, and there is nothing in this act that stops these things, that allows them and makes them authorized, so therefore they're illegal. Well, which is it, Mr. Schuette? Yeah, I remember you in 10th grade picking your shoe off your foot and holding your hand up in a T like you were talking to fucking 2-year-olds. Yeah, I said it, I'm pissed. So this is craziness. We've got the government right now telling us you are going to be tracked, you are going to be monitored, and oh my God, don't talk about that free-for-all called repeal. They just cannot allow the free-for-all. Let me give you some translation. Free-for-all, when it comes out of a politician's mouth, means we ain't got control over it. You do, and we can't have that. So when you hear these politicians talking free-for-all, understand they're saying, that's not in my authority. I don't have authority over your free-for-all. How am I going to do my job if I don't have authority? Well, Lansing, you ain't got authority anyways. We do. That's why Section 1 of the Constitution says all political powers are inherent in the people, not the legislator, not Mr. Kesto, not the governor, not Mr. Schuette, the people. We, the people. When you are hired by we, the people, you are the slave, we are the master. That shit's coming to an end because we are pretty much done. You are screwing us left and right. You've taken our act of compassion and turned it into a club of anger and pestilence. And that is going to stop. You are pushing the things, Lansing. You are pushing the issue, Lansing. You are usurping the will of the people, Lansing. And Washington. Because Lansing wants to be like his big brother in Washington, D.C. And if you don't think that's coming, you ain't paying close enough attention. So with that said, there's my nice little rant. Can anybody else keep up? Yeah, I know other ones try, but you don't call them out. Call them out. They're usurping the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. And it ain't only on the Medical Marijuana Act. My own county is trying to tell us you can't even have a chicken unless you got 5 acres of property. You got to own 5 acres of property to get an egg-laying chicken, so you ain't committing a crime. Write the Farm Act, ladies and gentlemen. And Lansing, have you read that lately, or can you read? Obviously, you can't read, because if you could read, you would read the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act in general language like it was passed. Oh, but that's right. That's a free-for-all, because Bill Schuette was screaming about how this free-for-all called the Medical Marijuana Act was going to let anybody go get high, even our kids. Oh, my God, the terror. Meanwhile, they legalized OxyContin for 11-year-olds, and let's watch those ODs go from 1 every 19 minutes to 1 every 11 minutes. Because your 11-year-old's competent enough to take his own OxyContin. Unfreaking believable. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun night, I think. Got a couple days of pent-up frustration, a couple days of, are you kidding me? What the heck is this crap? And then the sudden, addition to, HB 4827, the seed to sale tracking, which is coming out of the MJ Freeway Business Solutions, which is, I believe, a limited liability corporation, which is traded on the public market. So if you own stock in MG Freeway Business Solutions, sell that crap, because they're trying to screw you too. So there's the little beginning. We got a good little 15 minutes of 20 minutes of blowing it out right there. So yeah, What are we gonna do? Oh, I know. Let's give the state everything it wants and call it legalized recreational dope. Yeah, that's smart. Let me ask you guys over there supporting legalized. How is the cops gonna tell the difference? They don't know the difference now between hemp, cannabis, medical marijuana, black market marijuana, or recreational legalized marijuana when it comes around. How is that cop going to know the difference when he sees somebody growing 12 recreational plants? Is he going to think they're a medical patient and want to see a doctor's slip? If they don't have a doctor's slip, which is not needed in a recreational bill, any of them I've seen, is that cop going to arrest that person because they don't have a doctor's slip? That's a big question. We're told they're going to get a $100 fine. Well, that's a lot of recreational people going to be getting $100 fines and paying the state for not having a doctor's recommendation. You know, interestingly enough, they'll arrest, we're supposed to believe they're going to arrest a medical marijuana patient who's got 3 ounces and only supposed to have 2.5, but only ticket the recreational dope head because he's got 3 ounces and only supposed to have 2.5. Yeah, something doesn't smell right in Alice in Wonderland here. I think she fell down the cesspool, not the rabbit hole in this whole mess, because it's getting stinkier and stinkier, and the more the state moves on the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, it gets smellier and a bigger club for the state against you, the people. Golly, we've went 5.5, 6 years in this Medical Marijuana Act, and every year the state has subverted the will of the people, usurped the Constitution, as well as the Medical Marijuana Act, and turned that act of compassion into a club of vengeance. Because we did it and they didn't want us to. Well, you're really going to like us come November, baby, because we are going for the free-for-all. We are going for the no-holds-barred, and you're only going to have to deal with your 6% regulation on commercial market, baby. How do you like me now? Oh, you're awful quiet. Cat got your tongue? What's the matter? These flapping lips making too much sense for the people out there? Yeah, I expect the cops come pulling in trying to bust me too, so, hey, if I get arrested, folks, I'm all in my lines, I'm all in my numbers, everything's great. I've got less than everything I'm supposed to have. So if I go to jail, you know why. Because they're going to be trying to slip everything into the box. They're going to try to do anything they can to take this thing and shut it down. They cannot have a free-for-all, a.k.a. no authority over you except for what they have at the cash register, which is all they deserve, it's all they need, and it's all legally. And even that's pretty darn vague to say it's legally all they can get is the sales at the taxes at the cash register. Because quite literally, our Constitution of this state and this country doesn't say they get to control how you feed yourself, or how you medicate yourself, or how you want to heal yourself when you're sick. Truth of the matter is, they ain't got that kind of authority at all. Thomas Jefferson, man, what a great mind that guy is. Thomas Jefferson, I'm trying to look up my little quote here. I put it here a couple days ago, and I'm going to see if I can find it. But he had a quote, paraphrase is, if we let the government tell us what we can eat and what we can turn around and use in our bodies as medicine, then our bodies will soon be in a state that is currently living under tyranny. And, of course, that's a paraphrase. It's not exactly what he said. Pretty close. But, yeah, our founding fathers are extremely keen on the fact that the government cannot and should not, and most definitely should not be given the control over what you are putting in your body for food, sustenance, and medicine. Because if they control that, they control your body, your mind. You are a slave and you don't even know it. So do you want the government to have control of your body? Do you want the government to have control of your mind? If you're not trustworthy, you can't trust yourself, maybe you should give it all to the government. But give it to them for yourself. Don't speak for me. I don't need your work. I don't need your help. I've done good for 50 years, 35 daily. I don't need you to tell me how to help myself. What I need you to do is protect the Constitution like your job is supposed to be, Lansing. You don't have a job to control the people of Michigan. Your job is not to dictate what we eat, how we eat, when we fart. Your job is to protect the Constitution. And you have been failing for the entire length of my life for the most part, and I just turned 49 years old. So that's 49 years of failing. And that's you failing, Lansing. I don't care if you're new there and you just got hired yesterday, you're a failure because you entered into a failing system. If you are in the Michigan government and you are not speaking about protecting the Constitution, you are committing treason, and you will and shall be held accountable. The Constitution is the only power in this state. No Constitution, no state government, no state government. Guess what, Lansing? No jobs for you. So, you do not have that power. I don't care what you say. Supremacy clause from the federal government stops at the border of Ohio and Indiana, baby. And the water going over to Canada. But hell, we're getting their crap. We take their garbage at 21 cents a ton. Federal government didn't care about that international trade. Oh, but take a joint over to Canada and watch the crap roll downhill. So, I hear stoppage in the sound. I don't know exactly what stopped in the sound. It looks like it's just my one page here, so it's rolling and going. Okay. So, yeah, we've got a whole crap load of stuff happening. Every time I turn around, there is more crap coming down out of Lansing. It's absolutely insane. I about flipped when I seen this. I knew it was coming, but I'm surprised that it came out even before we got a year before the election, and this is how confident they are they're going to get control of it, is they're already putting in legislation, or trying to, so when legalization comes out, you got to sign your name to walk into a place. And you're going to have to be on the camera system and on the audio system, breaching your own will, breaching your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights to not commit perjury or not commit admission of guilt upon yourself. And your Fourth Amendment right, free from being seized and inspected. You're on a camera system ran by the government. You're going to sign papers in quad, written and sent into the government. That is a complete breach of your Fourth Amendment. Or Fifth Amendment. Both amendments. So, federal supremacy stops at the 9th and 10th Amendment, boys and girls. Don't let the lawyers tell you any different. Because that is the way it is. This is not a nation under the federal government. This is a federal government built by the states that create the nation. No states, no federal government. This ain't trickle-down tyranny of inalienable rights here. The only thing that trickles down is political power, according to the Michigan Constitution, Section 1, being inherent in the people is where it comes from. So how does Lansing think it has the power to tell you to sit down, shut up, and take it and like it? Well, Lansing, good luck on that. You think you've gotten crap yet? These fountainheads you've been nurturing in between the backdoor meetings, the fountainheads on this side have dropped the ball. They put up Goldilocks, whoever made that story. Oh, my God, are you guys fools? But you think these people are that stupid they couldn't tell you were reading them a story called The Porridge is Too Hot with MRC, The Porridge is Too Cold with MCC, and it's almost right now with MI Legalized? Yeah, I read that story in kindergarten. I understood it in kindergarten. I haven't been in kindergarten in about 45 years. The story says the same, guys. It's a bad situation. I don't care what you think. You are trying to give this government control and fooling the people by trying to call it baby steps. And what's this crap about repealing prohibition? Which one of you fools started yapping your flapping lips about that, Mr. Thompson? Was that you? It wouldn't surprise me. Really? Repeal prohibition by giving the government control? A monitoring and camera system that everybody's going to be watched every moment from seed to sale? Yeah, that's repeal of prohibition, all right. You ain't repealing prohibition. You're doubling down on it. You know it, I know it, and more than enough of the people out here know it. Which is why you are having so hard of a time. Yeah, you can talk it all up at your $500 plate golf events, your $1,000 dinners. Oh, we're doing so well. Give us money. Yeah. We need money too. I'm not begging for it. The people will give it because they know the right thing and they know this will be challenged. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody on this side of the fence in the state challenges it because, well, golly, can't have a free-for-all. Mr. Government, Uncle Chester the Molester down in Lansing might actually not have to do anything. They might actually have to lay off a few people, a few court stenographers, maybe a couple judges, a few cops. Oh, the irony, the terror, the horror. Oh, wait a minute. That'll lower our national or our state debt. Well, hell, I think we can fire about half of y'all then. People are sick of paying your taxes. What do you think May 5th was about? You fools down there, tax, give us more money. We can't do the roads with $18 billion sitting in the kitty. $54 billion working in and out of the daily or the yearly budget. You need to say we're $74 billion in debt, so basically we're insolvent, or we're in the black, or almost in the black. Yeah, bullcrap. You all know that's bullcrap. This state's farther in debt than $74 billion, and they ain't got the money. The reason they ain't got the money is they're trying to pass the gas tax and hiking the tax after we told them no on May 5th. They spent the money. It's already spoken for. They can't sell it or it's gonna bounce. Their checks are gonna bounce. And what happens when the checks bounce to the Federal Reserve or to the federal government? Or to Guido over in Chicago who's running the numbers game where they got the money being stored. Yeah, guys, the crap's coming out. Not just in the cannabis community, everywhere. People put the Republicans in 2010 because of the terrible job Jenny did in the 12 years that she was in there. Oh, my goodness. Run this state down farther. And the Republicans came in and doubled down on that and are running it down even farther now. Trying to make everybody a slave to the federal government. So what we basically have in Lansing is Washington, D.C. by proxy. Do we need Washington, D.C. instead of Lansing? I don't think we need either of them anyways, myself. So, hey, we've been on about 45 minutes here. I'm still waiting for anybody to call in that may want to. Of course, if the thing's been messing up, show's been going down, who knows if they even know if we're watching. If you're out there listening and you want to get your rant on this a little bit, we're going to rant for another 10, 15 minutes, and then we're going to move into some other things here. You can give us a call. Pardon me. MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. Give us a guest call in at 646-668-2239. That's 646-668-2239. And we're going to take a quick little break here. I'm going to play a song. Yeah, you probably heard it a little bit already, but we got a couple new ones, so hey, we can play a few different ones and not kill everybody out. So I'm going to play this. This is No Control. This is from the band Die Time, Andy Wade, who's been playing, I've been playing the music from the other way. Andy Wade is the guitarist of Die Time. Jeremy Lagenek was the bass player, or the drummer of Die Time, and yours truly was the bass player. This is a recording from 1991 and 92, and it was redigitally mastered in 2010. So you get to hear me play a little bass. And this one's called No Control. Kinda fitting. Bad Time, recorded in 1991, original death metal, heavy metal. We really didn't call ourselves death metal. We were kind of thrash, heavy, melodic, but it wasn't speed, it wasn't quite thrash, it wasn't death, it was kind of camaraderie of all of them. So I'm waiting for, somebody just called in, I know who it is, I'm waiting for her to call back in, and as soon as she does, we'll bring her back on the air. So, okay, so anyways, I'm going to turn this down so you ain't hearing a repeat through, because I'm sure you will. I cranked it up while the song was playing, so I could hear it. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. Monitor, make sure everything's going good. Pardon me. I'm going to cough again. Oh, excuse me, I didn't want to cough in your ear. That was a hard one. So, we had, last weekend, we had, a lot of things going on. I was up north at Dana Carver's. She had a Liberty event. I tried talking about this last night. I tried talking about it Monday night, but because the BTR kind of messing up, we really didn't get a chance to say anything because you didn't get a chance to hear me, and heck, I didn't even get a chance to put it out. So, Dana had this Liberty event over the weekend. She should be calling in here before too long. We'll get her back on the air, and as soon as she does, we'll bring her on. But she had this Liberty event where she had some people come out and speak. I came out and I spoke on, obviously, the repeal of prohibition, abrogation of cannabis prohibition here in the state. Dana spoke on jury nullification. Hold on a second. And as far as that goes, I mean, she spoke really well on jury nullification. She was talking about some of the issues there, and should be good to go. Oops, sorry, wrong comment. She should be, was talking about jury nullifications, and hang on a moment. Let me take care of this for a minute. So, trying to do a couple things at once, and sometimes I multitask, sometimes I gotta stop. Depends on where I'm at in the day. So, we're sitting there, and she was talking about jury nullification. This is a big issue. I mean, this is a big issue that is not as well known and publicized as it needs to be, and that is the big kink, and we really need to publicize that in. We have the right. It's, we have the right to nullify any laws that we do not agree with. If somebody's on trial for undercharged under something that we feel is bad law, for instance, prohibition of cannabis, we can vote to nullify. You can vote that person not guilty by reason of nullification, which means it's a bad law. This person shouldn't have been here. The judge shouldn't have been called. The prosecuting attorney shouldn't have had to write any papers, and nobody should be sent into the jury box. Nullification is huge. So as soon as hopefully we get Dana back on here, we'll bring her in. I think that's Dana right there, so I'm going to turn around and bring her in here. Is that you, Dana?
Yeah, it's the blonde.
It's Dana! Hey, everybody, say hi to Dana. That's okay, Dana. Don't worry about it, sunshine. The whole system's been kind of kaput for a couple days. So.
Well, it kept giving me, really cool rock music. I was like, this is cool. And it was coming over across the speakers of the computer, too, so we were laughing about it. I was like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. I played a song. I took a quick break and played a song, and it will play over the earphones and then over the speakers on the computer. So what you'll want to do is make sure you mute your speakers on the computer so you don't get a feedback loop going between the phone and the microphone or the speakers.
Right. I think what happened was I called once. I'm still like dealing with my ride to the cup and whatnot, and I called once, and then she called back, and then when I called back again, it was the same music. I said, it's not working.
No, it
but
was
enough
working
about
again.
my inequities as a tech person.
No, I seen you pop into the queue. I actually, put you on hold just because, I'd seen you call in, and I rang it in. I put the mic, but then I turned around and put it on hold. So if you were speaking, it didn't come through because not knowing that you were on the air, you might have said something funny. I didn't want to make you feel silly.
Oh, no. I was like, I'm so confused. And I even said that on the post. I think that's what you were laughing about.
Yes, it was. So I was telling folks a little bit about this weekend, and I just basically got into talk a little bit about the Liberty event, and I told them that what I had talked about, and I was telling them what you were talking about. So why don't you go ahead and pick it up and tell everybody what you were speaking about over the weekend at your little event up there?
Well, I always speak about nullification because I'm one of those storm the castle kind of people. I still believe in the old way, the same way that we came upon the founding of this country, which was if the king issues uncharterable acts back then we just don't do them. And that's the same way I feel about this stuff now. These codes and statutes that don't belong in our world, we just don't follow them. They're unconstitutional. And anything unconstitutional is null and void. And we just have to convince the jurors, though. That's the hardest part. It's either getting state legislation where the judge has to tell the jurors the right of nullification, or we, the people, have to teach them. And there's only one state in this entire country that's actually done it. So there's, 49 other states that have to do it. So it's up to us. We have to teach them how to do it. And it's not that hard. It's you vote your conscience. When the judge says, and he's going to tell you, in every state in this union, you have to follow the law as I give it to you. And he tells you how the person is guilty. And, Tim, I know you've been in a courtroom, whether it was for yourself or someone else. After those jury instructions, they are guilty. There's no way around it because that's how it's designed to be nowadays, because they need those bodies in the beds. But we have to get to them and tell them, no matter what he says, you can vote your conscience. And we've had that law since way back in Greece, but, on a more modern term, since 1670 with William Penn.
Yeah, right. All right. I mean, nullification, as you said, has been around for thousands of years. But it seems the last 100 or so, the talk of it has been, quietly shoved aside or just, remotely forgotten by the people who used to talk about it.
It was 1860. If you look back to 1860, and it was a Supreme Court case, and I cannot tell you the names. I do remember the year. It was when people had been nullifying other things, and a judge said one day that the judges no longer have to, because someone brought it to court that a judge forgot to nullify something, to say that you have the right to nullification, because it used to be in there. And, well, actually, as a side note, getting a little off topic, all your motions, those pre-trial motions, did you know those used to be heard before the jury? And that was done until about 1946. But anyway, so until about 1860, the judge had to tell the people they had the right, and then the judge quit telling them. Because this court case says, well, they don't have to tell it. The people should just know that fact.
Right.
Because they assumed the people would know it. And then later they, like I said, changed the motion laws where the jury no longer got to hear the motion, so the jury knows none of the case except what the prosecution gives them nowadays, because the court rules have been made to make the court the nullifiers. They nullify the Constitution. Yeah.
I mean, there's been a, lack of a better word, usurpation that's been going on, and as was mentioned over the weekend, it's right down to our local governments now. It's not just the federal. It's gone through the states. It's in our back doors and our backyards. Earlier I was talking about how here in Midland they passed this, anti-farming act where if you want to have chicken or two, you need 5 acres of land. And it's like, what?
For two chickens.
Well, I mean, any chickens. You cannot have chickens in Midland County unless you own 5 acres of land.
You were at my house all weekend.
I know.
You were at my house all weekend. We have 5 acres cleared. You saw that, right? The big clearing that we live on out of our 40. The rest is forest. how many acres did my chickens, like, hang out on? Maybe a quarter?
If that.
Yeah, they hang out by their house. They don't go venture off miles from home or acres from home.
Right. I'm listening to this, and I'm talking about, this thing here with some neighbors here a couple months back, and I'm thinking, what kind of craziness is this? You can go to a corporate farm, and the chicken's got 2x2 square. Mm-hmm. That's what it's got. But for me to raise like 3 hens and have egg layers, I need 5 acres. And the way they were told, was one of the neighbors down the road had a rabbit that got a letter on that they had to take care of, or they just released it. But it was a tame rabbit being released in the wild. I'm sure it didn't last long. But that's crazy. They couldn't have a pet rabbit because they weren't at a farm and didn't have 5 acres, so now their kids can't be in 4-H with their own pet rabbit. They got to go lease a rabbit at a farm if they want their kid to be a rabbit farmer at 4-H.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
It's all part of the plan.
Oh, yes, it is.
Back to the UN and Agenda 21 and sustainable development. That doesn't mean sustainable for you. It means sustainable for the government.
Right.
Tyson gets a lot of government subsidies now, doesn't it?
Yeah, what we did is we left the kingdom, and when we wouldn't come back, the kingdom came to us.
Yes, it did.
In the form of the United Nations and, the unholy Catholic Church. Sorry, folks, but they've got their problems. So, yeah, that's part of the reason people fled England wasn't just the, king. A lot of it was part of the Catholic Church being forced upon them, especially the Irish. A lot of Irish took to the Catholic, but a lot of Irish didn't. That did not fit well with their natural way of life. So, we left in 15 and 1600. Well, a bunch of people left in 15 and 1600. Mostly Irish. Not many people will say much about that, but the vast majority was Irish.
But St. Patrick came and saved us from our sins with the snakes and all.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he took all the little rats and saw the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, even. There's a lot there, and jury nullification that you were talking about is an important step. I mean, this is like you were saying.
And it's what changed a lot of things. It's what the founders used at first.
Exactly, yeah. This is how
at first, when the king was first putting his edicts upon the people that were not chartered, and they were the same edicts that we live with today, things like legislation without representation, taxation without representation, unlawful search and seizure, all those kind of things. The people were nullifying it. And what did the king do? He sent them to a foreign court. He took them to court either over in France or up in Canada, where there was no common law and there was no jury nullification.
Right.
And it's the same as they're doing today. When they've suppressed it, they will actually put people in jail for it. They will. Yeah. Even though we have case law and all that good stuff saying it's all legal.
Well, dear, I don't make the law. I just enforce it. So we're just going to have to let the judge and jury deal with it. How many times have we heard that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't make the law. Yeah, you don't know the law either. If you knew the law, you wouldn't be trying to arrest people for something unconstitutional.
Yes, and if you swore to uphold that Constitution, you would know that you weren't.
Exactly.
If you knew the Constitution. So it's not just about the laws. It's about them knowing the Constitution. And it's about us knowing it. Because how do you know if it's an unconstitutional official act? Unless you know your Constitution.
Exactly.
Without that, we have nothing.
Well, Dana, government tells us what our unalienable rights are now. We don't have to even think about it anymore.
Oh, no, I wake up thinking about it.
Just fine.
I know, and I have heard an attorney say that in court. A public offender. Defender. I have heard them say it in court. I have. But the government, you, judge, gives them the right. That was Terry Tringali, Presco County, Michigan. Don't ever take her. And she said that. I'm like, what? Even Joshua Covert. He's one of the beloved medical marijuana lawyers, and he's not bad, but he's not constitutional. Look at the write-up in the Hybrid magazine. That made my toes curl. I'm like, really? Really? The government gives you those rights? No. You wake up every day with those natural rights. That is what the founding of this country said. I wake up with these 10 inalienable rights every day, and those are only the ones we have to write down. Because they grew hemp. They never would have thought that we couldn't smoke cannabis. They would have been like, no, Wait, what? Or that they would take our children? They never would have thought anyone would ever take our children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I heard all this stuff. I mean, I look back over the schooling years from my early years to my, high school, junior high years. Somewhere in that time, there was a fundamental shift. A lot of us, a lot of it came in the 80s, but I was kind of almost out of high school at that time. So it really didn't get to me. But there was fundamental changes. I can remember being in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and we were being told, you are the next astronauts. You are the next space explorers. You are the generation that's going to go out and explore space. And by the time I got to high school, you are the next generation that's going to be middle management because NASA was on its way.
Mhm.
So yeah,
but that all started in 1851.
Yeah, but somewhere between 5th grade and 9th grade, boy, it fundamentally changed in the education system in this country. And I could
That's where they talk about it
takes
3 generations. You heard the communists talk about it. It takes 3 generations.
They did it in one, man, because believe me.
No, you got to think about it.
Well, I'm just saying, in
my
school district, it was a big change in 1 year. And guess what school district I was in? Midland.
Okay. Because all I'm saying is, we had it in 1851, and then we had it. There's a message on that one thing. You have to give him the link to the show. But in 1851 was when all the Persians came over, and they said, or Prussians, my bad. They said, we're going to come over and we're going to, do all this stuff. And then they did it. But they couldn't get it through until they forced schooling. When they made that law that said you had to go to school, that's when they could really start implementing it. So you're talking about 1912. So now think it through. 1912, 3 generations. It took all the generations of those teachers getting out of school and all those parents getting out of knowledge. And we were that generation that was supposed to hold it, even though we weren't taught. And we were taught, because I had that 4th grade teacher that had us make a Bill of Rights out of a paper sack, lots of paper sacks, 10 of, 5 of them, make 10 pages, and I had that, so I knew my rights.
Those things until I went to Midland County, and then I wasn't. They didn't teach those things in Midland County. Which is really funny because Midland County is supposed to be really affluent, and I come out of Bay County, which is supposed to be pretty downtrodden in the late 70s when we moved, I was supposed to be going from a crappy school system that taught me the constitutional way of life, and then going to a better school system that taught me the communist way of life.
Right. Maybe the Prussians knew that, because I grew up in middle class, so we had the good stuff early.
Right. Well, it was. I mean, from Bay City, I was in Auburn, man. I mean, we're talking farming community. One of the richest people in the town was a dentist. It's just a little town, little farming community, but Midland, 8 miles to the west, home of Dow Chemical, Dow Corning, Marion Dow. They're a pretty affluent little area. I don't think anybody makes, for the most part, everybody makes $50,000-$60,000. If you got any kind of stable kind of McDonald's kind of crap job, if you got a decent job, you're making good money, you're living well in this town. They pay decently, even for some of the crap until you get down to minimum wage. But that being said, you would think their school systems would be that much farther ahead. I was shocked. I mean, I was just, the first year, 6th grade was kind of a
hold on. But Tim, you have to go back to the agenda. They were that much far ahead.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Were you supposed to learn that? No, you weren't.
Farther into this Prussian system you're talking about than in Bay
That's what
City,
I'm saying. The poorer places, back in Texas, because Texas said, no, we're not doing your federal. In the 80s when I was growing up, Texas did not have federal funding for their schools. Exactly. The governor at that time had said, no, we don't want your shit no more. And so we got taught stuff. And I'd say, and then I'm one of those, I will admit, I did not continue. I missed most of the 8th grade. I had to do the 8th grade 3 times because I never showed up, except for the test, and they were like, you can't show up for the test, and so I didn't really pass. And then in the 9th grade, I dropped out and had a kid and started doing my life and started buying houses and, doing the things that people used to do before they had compulsory schooling that said you had to be in school till you were 26. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. That's what it is.
So I'm one of those, like, people that should have, been a statistic, but I wasn't. I just did. I had a kid, so you had to feed the kid. So you feed the kids, so you work, and you buy a house, and then you have a, 2.5 and a white picket fence,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And see, and that's what it was, like I was saying earlier, we were taught, sounds like you kind of come out of the same, ideology of schooling is, you guys need to do and be ready for whatever comes up, even though we may not know what that is. We were always taught to be prepared for the least expected, because you're always prepared for the expected if you're prepared for the least expected.
Now, but did that come from the school, or did that come from some grandma who might have been
both.
in the Depression area?
School taught us a lot of that. My schooling when I was younger, up until I come to the Midland system, they taught us how to think. We were taught to think critically. We were challenged to think critically. When I come to Midland,
I could say in seventh grade, were you taught to balance a checkbook? Because I know I was in 7th grade.
Mhm. Yes, I think it was even in Midland, 7th grade at that time. We still had math, and we had a checking. Actually, I think I had it in Auburn back before 5th grade, but I can't say for sure. It would have been 4th or 5th grade. But yeah, we did have it at some point around 4th, 5th, 7th grade, something like that. But I took accounting too, so I had a lot more than that. But yeah, we were taught how to balance a checkbook. Home ec wasn't required, but they sure wanted a lot of guys to get into it, so at least you knew how to burn macaroni right.
Right.
Even though they didn't, force it. It wasn't
we
required.
took cooking class just to have something to eat after getting, going to lunch. Let's just say it that way.
Home ec seems like a shinty class, but I'll tell you, as a guy, there was a lot of hot girls in home ec.
Yeah, but, I already know how to cook food. I'm like, I can make Spanish rice. She's like, you're making a chocolate cake. I'm like, well, that's boring. I can make Spanish rice. I'm going to do something really off topic, but Dustin Heidi, that we were in the conversation with before, all he's hearing is music too. So, Tim, tell him how to not hear music.
Okay, what's happening if they're hearing music? They're probably listening to one of the shows from the other day that's stuck on. Now, they were having some guest call-in problems.
Well, hey,
so they may have
don't explain it to me. Put it on that little link that you're on Facebook.
Right. Let me make
That's
sure.
That's how you do it.
Which link did you give them? Oh, I bet you I know. You gave them the main link. Yep, okay, that's why. That link is like to the main page. It kind of starts back to the other one.
Did you not notice earlier, don't ever trust Dana to do anything technical? If you want me to keep a pig or a puppy alive, that's how we do it.
Yeah, see, BlogTalk, I'm still trying to figure it out. Of course, with the last, 4 or 5 days of issues that they had, I've been kind of running blind myself.
And we can hear you better tonight. That's good.
Yeah, I got a different microphone. This one actually got a little curl mic that comes around by my by my mouth, and it's nice because I don't have to sit here and burn my ear up with the phone stuck to it. That hurts after a couple hours. But yeah, see, with BlogTalk, there's the main page, which is the MichICAN Nightly Radio Show, and that will automatically start playing like the first episode or one of the recent episodes. But that's not the actual live show. That's just like the page show. When you scroll down the page a little bit, you'll see it says upcoming broadcast, and it will be one of them will like show the date. Like today it said 8:19, and then tomorrow it'll say tomorrow at 9 p.m. So when they go to that link, it kind of messes up. Now that they're working again, I'm hoping I've had this tied into my Twitter and Facebook, so it should automatically be given live show links, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to actually be posting them up on the page to make sure everybody's got the fresh link for the live show that day. It's kind of funky how the links
I'm one of those people that really needs a fresh link to the live show.
yeah, because it's kind of funny because you click on it and you think you're on the live show, but if you look above the picture, that's yours truly in 1967. I was 8 to 9 months old at that picture.
Yeah, because we were laughing because, like I said, my husband and I clicked on the thing and I heard the music, and then I called in, I heard the music. Then my girl for Canada called back and said, be here at 10, and then I called back and it was the same music, and then you called me back, it was the same music. I was like, my phone's just messing with me.
Right. Yeah, when you look at the pictures, if you look just above that, it'll either give you the air date or it will say in red on air. if it's the show live, or starting soon if it happens to be the show, but you're a little early. Or it will say like last Wednesday, 8/12, or whatever the date was. So if you look above the picture, you can see, are you on today's show? Because if it's live, between 9 and 11, it'll say on air. It'll show you live and 42 minutes relaying. If you're looking at it, you can probably see that now. But yeah, that's what's happening is, I've had that happen a few times where all I'm getting is music. Well, what they're getting to yesterday and today was because of the BlogTalkRadio system messing up. When it went to the archive, all it did is just played everybody's songs that they had in their song queue. Because the host wouldn't dial in. I was trying to connect. It was telling me I was connected. But the show wasn't actually getting me connected and broadcasting my voice. Like yesterday, the songs were going over. The music was playing live. But the guest or the host call-in line was not going broadcast live. But a guest called in. I hit up somebody on Facebook and had him call in and give a quick message. He was able to be heard, so the guest line was working, but I wasn't allowed to get it. But I could operate the manual. So they had some network issues. Probably got hacked or had a severe corruption of some software. Whatever they had going on, it must have took them almost a week to get straightened out.
Hang on, that Dustin guy is still having a hard time.
Okay, now he should be on the live one. He said, okay, thought it ran till 11. Yeah, it does. Yeah, sorry, folks, I'm going to tell you what I'm typing.
All right, folks, we're still working out those bugs.
Still trying to get the bugs worked out. So
you have to be looking at my Facebook right now. I'm seeing both of your little dewjobbies have three little lines going, hey.
Funny. Do you want to talk about the other guests you had on
the
weekend?
yes.
I mean, there were a couple good ones. We should take a little bit of time.
All right, so we had me talking about jury nullification and how we have people going to jail for it and how judges are violating their bench book all over the place for that whole cause. And that was really good because, we had the person here, Jim, and we'll have him come on the show. He was detained on the wall, like in recess, basically, because he dared to give out pamphlets for jury nullification, which is civil disobedience, which anyone who has smoked cannabis since 1937 is...
been doing civil disobedience.
Yeah, every day. And so that's the same thing we were doing while we were doing this jury nullification because it's against the law now, supposedly. And, it's just, it's nuts. And so we had him here, and he didn't talk, but I talked for him with my little speech. And my speech is storm the castle, jury nullification, nullify everything, move on. We had Stephanie Jacobson here, and she talked about Common Core. Common Core is basically the Prussian education system on crack. It's the standardized testing we've all known and loved as kids. And, we've not learned from it. We learned to take a test and then take another test and, take another test. And I didn't get that testing until I was in junior high, but it's average for your kindergartner now. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Forced schooling is unconstitutional. No one should ever have to go to school. It's not an enumerated power of the government. It's supposed to be provided, but no one is supposed to be there under force of law. But now we have that, and these standardized tests, and all they're teaching your kids is nothing, absolutely nothing. How to follow a law, how to raise your hand, how to ask to go to the bathroom, how to be a good slave, how to chase that shiny bauble.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at these tests. Now, I'm pretty good with math. I can look at it. It took me, I bet you a good couple hours. I was, one of these Facebook pages come up about Common Core math. And I'm looking at this thing going, what in the hell? So, I mean, being a math kind of guy, I got interested in how are they supposed to make this work? So I just sat there and thought about it in my head and played out the scenarios. If you do this, then that happens. The old computer programming, if then, and going through it. And I think I see the intent, but if that, which is, okay, to make the children try to think of different ways to do the same problem. Have many paths to the same solution. But in doing so, they are adding 1,400 hurdles and 3.5 miles to the trip, which should only be a quarter mile long. And this is the big, kind of query between those people looking at it going, what the heck? This is crazy. Why are we doing this? 7 plus 4 is 11. It's not that hard. 7, 8, 9, 10.
But you have to have the happy number 10.
Yeah. So, I can look at it and say, okay, maybe they're trying to make these children think differently. To try to approach a problem from not just a standard, approach, which I guess isn't a bad idea. We need people who can think of outside-the-box solutions. Okay, I can go along with that.
How is 2 plus 2 outside the box?
Well,
unless you have a happy number 10.
Well, like I say,
it's
the
math.
idea is they're looking at, different lines of thought and reasoning to come into a solution. And so, but if that's the case, you need to apply that to 9th graders, 11th graders, because 2nd graders, 3rd graders, 4th graders are not going to get that concept. Very few will. Now, unless that is the true intent, to find those very, very 1 in 200 million, 150 million people who think just specifically that they can pick away and groom some way, that's been happening in the military for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
They who knows this? A lot of our school tests that are nationally, backed federal government testing to, see how you're doing with the other schools are actually tests that were developed by DARPA for the Department of Defense. So they could research and test all the kids in the country and find out who had the brightest minds and then recruit them into either the military via, a direct sign-in after graduation, or in my case, try to recruit them into the ROTC when they're 14, 15 years old.
But then some days those brightest minds aren't the ones they want.
Well, yeah. Well,
those brightest minds that don't toe the line and go to school every day and do what they're supposed to do. Because
hon, I didn't toe
that's
the line.
how it works.
I didn't go to school every day, and they still wanted to give me,
But it even goes further than that, though. It's not just that. It's the people behind the program, and you know that. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
What does Bill Gates want to do? Does he want to kill you? Does he want you to die? Yes, he does.
Right.
Tim. He doesn't like you.
Yep.
You're not elite enough. You must die. Biodiversity says you do not get to live. That's what he believes. And you heard Stephanie. She said, you heard her. Oh, she was so cute. She goes, and I love it when she says this. She goes, well, then you first.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Bill Gates wants you to die. Dude from Sierra Club wants you to die. Well, then fine. You first.
Start with yourself.
Yes.
Yep.
And they don't want to do that. They just want to make us go away. And they want us to be good slaves. Raise your hand. Oh, you want to piss? Get permission to piss. And I've been there.
Wait a minute.
I was already 13. I was already skipping school every day, and I had my tonsils out. And they were like, I said, I have to go get a drink.
You're not in a free speech zone. You better watch what you're saying.
Uh-oh. I'm always in a free speech zone. I know what my First Amendment says. But, I had my tonsils out. Oh, you can't go to the water fountain. Yes, I can. I have to go get a drink. Who are you to tell me I can't? And, of course, I got suspended, in school. Which means I didn't go after that,
You didn't mind.
Life is good because I knew about prison early, and I wasn't going to be there. But so that's what Stephanie talks about. And Common Core is, it's so intricate. It's so much. It's data collection. It's everything. These kids have to fill out stuff saying, do your parents have guns at home? It's just like the Nazis. The Nazis, what was their question? Do your parents have guns in the homes? Because we've outlawed guns. And then they took the guns, and then the parents went to Gulag. It's pretty simple. Yep. So that's what Stephanie was teaching. And then we had Lyle. He got up. He talked about smart meters because apparently even up here in northern Michigan, we're about to get them. And we're not going to get them because I'm still the house that doesn't even have one. I'm the only house in my whole county that doesn't have a gas smart meter. Go figure, So we're all good with that one. And then you got up and you talked a little bit about Abracate. And, Chris Ann, though. Yeah. That's I mean, I sound like a worshiper, but I am. I mean, Chris Ann is our Thomas Paine. She is. And she walks around and she tells you what it is, and you can look up everything she says, and it is law. It is law.
If you want to really do this. Now, that's the problem is she's had to really dig, and she's qualified to really dig. How hard is it for people that aren't qualified to really dig and find that information? And that's what the system has done. It's hidden that information. It's putting up walls of barrier. You're not allowed to know that. You only know this, so therefore you're stupid if it's outside of your realm of what you know.
And what did they tell Chris Ann?
You can't change your tire. You have to have a mechanic, because a mechanic knows how to change your tire.
Which is very stupid. Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, we knew how to do those things until they told us not to. And she was a prosecutor. So she knows. She prosecuted these cases, and she said no.
Yeah.
I need to learn my cause. She had to wake up. She was a liberal. She loved PETA. She's like, PETA. PETA. I love animals, and you guys are all bad.
Liberal, PETA follower, works for who?
The government. To prosecute you for your drug crime.
Who did she work for before she went to law?
Monsanto.
Oh, that woke my eyes up. I was shocked when she said that. I'm like, really? You were a pretty hardcore liberal.
Yeah.
But with that being said, this woman has been part of the beast and got woke up. Thankfully, she got woke up because she is a powerhouse. She's
my gosh, she is
very well spoken.
And she said everything I said, but I kept saying, Chris Ann is going to talk about this. Chris Ann is going to talk about that. I know what she talks about. And I could say it all day long. But what's the difference, Tim? They look at me and they say, oh, what are you? Oh, you're a bartender. You don't have one of those bar cards. I did have a bar card. I'm TABC certified. I'm Michigan certified, but that's not the right bar card, is it?
Right.
They want her and her bar card. Because the same people I talk to every day, when they hear her talk, they're like, wow, I agree. And I'm like, well, yeah.
What were you saying earlier about appeal to authority, hon?
Yes.
She seems like a person that has authority because she used to be a prosecutor.
Yes.
And, I mean, that's how bad it is in our own communities. You can say the same exact thing like you were saying, because you've been following her and speaking, and learning what she's been saying. Of course, you've known a lot of this stuff, but you're just the bar gal. You're just the biker's wife. You're just the mom. But she was a prosecutor. She's been paper trained.
Yeah. I love that paper trained.
She knows how to pee on the floor in the right spot on the paper. She's been paper trained. I'm glad she burnt that paper. Well,
me too.
Realized how much of a flaw it was. So, I mean, she's a powerful speaker.
She
so anybody who don't know, chrisannhall.com. I mean, go listen and get a honest truth.
No, www.chrisannhall.com. You're right. But part of all of that we've all been talking about tonight, and I'm going to read it real quick if that's okay.
Yep.
Unconstitutional official acts. This also equals out to Federalist number 78. So Madison, who was a big government guy, he said, well, if it's not constitutional, the government can't make that law. Even he said it. He said, we can't do that. We can't go there. And then they finally made it into a case law, which is AmJur, which is the American Encyclopedia of Law, which is AmJur. And it states as follows. Unconstitutional official acts. 16 AmJur, 2D, Section 177, late 2D, Section 256. The general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for both the Constitution and a law violating it to be valid. One must prevail. This is succinctly stated as follows. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute having the form of and name of law is in reality no law, but is wholly void, and ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionality dates from the time of its enactment and not merely from the date of the decision so branding it. An unconstitutional law in legal contemplation is inoperative as if it had never been passed. Such a statute leaves the question that it purports to settle as it would had the statute not been enacted. Since an unconstitutional law is void, the general principles follow that it imposes no duties, confers no rights, creates no office, bestows no power or authority on anyone, offends no protection, and justifies no acts performed under it. A void act cannot be legally consistent with a valid one. An unconstitutional law cannot operate to supersede any existing valid law. Indeed, insofar as a statute runs counter to a fundamental law of the land, it is superseded thereby. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. An opinion by John Rolland. Strictly speaking, an unconstitutional statute is not a law, and should not be called a law, even if it is sustained by a court, i.e. the Supreme Court. For a finding that a statute or other official act is unconstitutional does not make it so. Is constitutional does not make it so, or confer any authority to anyone to enforce it. All citizens and legal residents of the United States, by their presence on the territory of the United States, are subject to the militia duty, the duty of the social compact that creates a society, which requires that each alone and in concert with others not only obey the Constitution and constitutional official acts, but help enforce them if necessary at the risk of one's own life. Any unconstitutional act of an official will at least be in a violation of the oath of that official to execute his duties of office, and therefore grounds for his removal of office. No official immunity or privileges of rank or position survive the commission of unlawful acts. If it violates the rights of individuals, it is also likely to be a crime, and the militia duty obligates anyone aware of such violation to investigate it, gather evidence for its prosecution, and make an arrest, and if necessary, seek an indictment from a grand jury, and if one is obtained, prosecute the offender in a court of law. Now that says that any law that does not follow the supreme law of the land, which enumerates the Constitution, the federal government to 20 enumerated powers, is not a law.
Exactly.
It's not a law.
You're supposed to look up and investigate and bring charges through grand jury if need be. Who did they mention that does that?
The militia.
And who's
and
the
that
militia?
Would be another night's subject, which is the general grand jury.
Right, but I mean, who is the actual militia that was spoken by our, us. It's not some group of army guys with green, knickers on and go playing golf on the weekends and, blowing crap up the week. That's you and me. That's the people.
Well, then we go back to the original Second Amendment, which, what does it say?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Off the top of my head, I don't quite remember, but...
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Exactly. And James Madison himself, big government James Madison, said, it is a duty of the people to bear arms at all times to protect themselves from a tyrannical government.
Yes.
Even though he was big government.
Yep. See, I, like you say, there's a lot of stuff that, a lot of our founders in today's thought processes, illogically applied, some of these guys look like fools because of the way these people think about what they were saying. But, a lot of what they were saying is nothing to, I think with him, with Madison, it had to do with more, he understood we needed a formidable government because the countries that were starting to build up their masses, and try to, put us down before we became anything, were formidable. I'm not so sure he was for total government control as he was, we need a big enough government to be able to protect the people, but we were never supposed to leave this land to protect ourselves. But
he also knew that the king of any sort could come back and take it.
Yep.
And they all knew that our new government could become king.
Yep. They knew
in any form or matter.
Right. If
we go back to Marbury versus Madison.
Know what we needed to know, we were going to lose what they fought for without even knowing it.
And we lost it early. And you have to admit that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
even though we have unconstitutional official acts, what I just read, we have Federalist 78, and you're saying, when did we lose it?
Oh, yeah, well, for sure with the Organic Act of 1871, because that's what put in...
Oh, no, baby, we lost it before that.
We lost it before that, but when it comes to,
Remember George Washington and the Whiskey Rebellion?
Right, yep.
Even George Washington usurped his power. He had to be knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
Even Davy Crockett usurped his power. He gave money to flood victims, and somebody in his district said, well, we didn't get flooded. Why do we have to give our money? So Davy Crockett wrote that quote that was on my timeline earlier. He said his constituent, as he was riding by, will you vote for me again? He goes, no, I won't. You gave money away that I didn't have, and I don't appreciate it. And so Davy Crockett had to say, whoa. So the next time they ask for money, he says, no, I can't do it. And that's that quote.
Right.
And then we come back to even 1803. That's when the federal, the black robe supremacy, we'll call them, that's when they said, we are the supreme rulers of the universe in Marbury versus Madison.
Right.
They said, oh, we have the power of the world, and we get to say what's constitutional. No. The people get to say what's constitutional.
No.
That is where the fourth branch of government is. And we're not even the fourth, we're the first. When any of them usurp their power, it is us that gets to say so.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. It's kind of funny because today we only talk about 4 branches of government and realize that the people aren't even mentioned. You got the executive, the judicial, the legislative, and then the press. Because the presses are supposed to be our unofficial people's branch of government, keeping their eye on the tyranny and the backroom deals. They've been bought out, obviously. But
how is the press singled out as the fourth? No, I think that's bad teaching, man. The press is not the fourth branch of the government. Does the First Amendment only cover the press? It's the people.
No, but in the idea that, for the people, the press are supposed to be reporting on the things going on in government because we can't all be in Washington at the same time. So they're supposed to report on it. Unofficial fourth branch of government has been usurped. So with that, it's always been supposed to be we the people, and then, the federal government, and then the press was supposed to be the middle guy kind of between the two as far as reporting on what's going on from the federal government to the masses. So the unofficial part. But today they say 4 branches, with the press not being a branch, but an unofficial branch, but it's supposed to be 4 official and the press. So they bumped us out and made us unofficial, and the press is now the official part of it. It's again a distraction, a diversion to divert the way people are thinking about something, to tell a vision through programming. They want you to think about something, like federal government is your king.
Or somebody bombed Massachusetts, and we should have martial law and come into your house, and you should let us in.
Right. Yep.
And
somebody posted on Facebook that they were going to come to Wyoming with a knife, so we need to lock down Florida. Yeah, it's just kind of insane.
And most of the people would be like, okay, we're cool with that.
Yeah. Well, and then, like today, or yesterday. Was it yesterday? Today's Wednesday. Yes, yesterday was the meeting down there in Lansing, and the judiciary thing, where I was ranting on this a little bit earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to listen in a little bit earlier, but I was off on a pretty righteous tangent, I think, for a little bit, basically putting it out as it was. But, we got this, little meeting that was going on in the judiciary yesterday where they were talking about 4209 and 4210, the provisioning center and the, medical bills. Which, the provisioning center bill, okay, we need it. Why do we need it? Because they illegally shut down, open market business for patients and caregivers under a public nuisance, a policy, not even a law.
Or a Supreme Court ruling.
Right. Yep. Like I said earlier, Bill
Black robes or policy, which one?
Bill
Did the people enact?
Soapbox. Yeah, Schuette was on his soapbox before he got in office. Nothing in this law and this act stops pot shops from being around the corner from your school and your church. And then he comes into power. Nothing in this law or act allows a pot shop to be on the corner, and then they go shut him down. He played both sides of his lips just like a politician. He used the same tactic, just the other side of the story, before and then after elected, to get the people didn't vote for that. You heard how they were yelling before I was elected. You were the only one talking and flapping your lips, Bill Schuette, before you were elected about the pot shops. To say that...
And the only reason
the only people in Bill Schuette's head that were talking about it were the people and the invisible voices Bill Schuette's been hearing in his head.
Well, you know why he got reelected?
I sent buddies.
I can tell you that as a person that watches the GOP, watches the Liberty Movement, and even in the Liberty Movement, the same people who will tell me that pot should be a tomato plant, same people voted for Schuette.
Yep.
Why? Because he was better than the Democrat.
Yep.
Even though they knew. And they were the people yelling and screaming about his pig farmer shit.
Well,
even if they didn't even listen to the medical marijuana people. They were bitching about his pig farmer shit, but yet they still voted him in.
Yep, I guess it has to do with he's a little less brutal with the sword. He just cleanly cuts your head off instead of using the hacksaw to make a slow cut like the other side.
Right, it's tyranny A or tyranny B.
Yeah,
which flavor do you like?
He'll kill us really quick instead of slowly.
Yeah.
He's compassionate. He didn't make you suffer more than 4 days before you died.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But my favorite part about both of those bills is it's got to be the medical bill.
Yeah, 4210.
Yeah.
What happened to preparation?
I will pull out my Medical Marijuana Act and I will read why 4210 is useless.
Oh, yeah.
I can read it to you.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the whole
Give me 2
definition
seconds. I put it down
marijuana.
here.
Well, the thing about the definition in the Medical Marijuana Act, it says
any preparation thereof. I know that much.
Well, but it says specifically.
So I was going to read it purposely.
Right, but it says specifically the definition of marijuana comes from the Public Health Code. And when you go to the Public Health Code and read the definition of marijuana, it includes any preparation thereof, extracts.
But in the Medical Marijuana Act, it includes that too.
Yes. So
how the hell are they saying medicals are not a preparation thereof?
Well,
and then you go into a court case and they don't just weigh the brownie or the candy, they weigh the container the candy is in.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Go to a court case. It's amazing.
But yeah, the Medical Marijuana Act uses the definition out of the Public Health Code, and the Public Health Code clearly defines and even says extracts and uses the phrase any preparation thereof. So if extracts and tincture or salts and derivatives are along the comma with the word or the phrase any preparation thereof, then they're using the fact that they didn't use salts, derivatives, and extracts in the actual Medical Marijuana Act definition when the Act clearly says the Public Health Code is the definition that they use. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is backroom mumbo jumbo.
Simple.
That's
what I said. Oh goody, they're doing more.
Yeah,
because I hate the medical bill. The medical bill pisses me off.
Oh, it's not even good lies and deception on that. That's blatant denial.
We don't like your act, and screw you on your act.
Exactly. So, I'm at this point with it, Dana. With this new bill coming up about the seed-to-sale tracking that Clint Kesto introduced yesterday along with the other two. Yes, people, they want to track the sales from seed to sale. Now, that means when you buy your seed, wherever you buy it, you're going to be in a Michigan government-controlled tracking system. Haven't I heard somebody talking about that in the last few months? I just don't remember who it was. I think he was also saying there's going to be a camera system coming soon. Guess what's involved in seed-to-sale tracking? I can guarantee you there'll be video cameras written into that act.
All I'm going to say right now is if you're growing
in preparation for legalized recreational marijuana, that's the beautiful part. It's not even for the damn provisioning centers. It's to get ready for recreational pot, people.
Yeah. Well, see, as the dissonant in this whole conversation, I'm going to tell everyone, take your males, take your females, let them have little happy sex and get seeds, because that's how you don't get a seed to sales tracking.
Yep.
You take your seeds and you distribute them everywhere. Sorry.
Well, you may have been.
Sorry, NSA, I didn't say that.
You may have, yeah. We know they're listening. They've been listening since 1978, ladies and gentlemen. Everything you've ever said on a telephone, back to the credit card tracking systems when you used to have to use the phone system to transmit your early credit card data in the 70s and 80s. That information, everything we've ever said, is metadata, and it's all stored on reel-to-reel tapes and data punch cards in storage buildings all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to people working for AT&T back then, called Ma Bell, Southern Bell and Company, who knew the NSA and the CIA were putting recording systems in because they had to set the network up to allow them to connect into. This is what Ma Bell was sued for by the federal government for being a monopoly, because before that happened, Ma Bell in the late 80s won a Supreme Court case against the National Security Agency on a Fourth Amendment case because they did not allow the NSA at that time to install recording systems on their networks that just went digital in like 76, 77. And by 80, they were being called a monopoly and getting broken up. And they were broken up in 84, and in 1986, the FCC changed their laws. Everybody had to rewrite their FCC licensing, everybody. And in the new licensing was a nice little hidden quote that all national data must be allowed. So if the CIA or the FBI wanted to tap into your stuff and put a recording agency on it, that's been happening since the 80s government passed. I've seen the documents. Don't believe me? Fine, I don't care. Go look for yourself.
But right on. I tell the NSA all the time I'm listening. And all I have to say is back to civil disobedience. If you smoke cannabis and you grow cannabis, grow your plants, get all the seeds you can. They have brainwashed you to think that cannabis should not have seeds. It's all part of the plan. Have seeds.
Right. Just
grow your own stuff. Make your own.
Buy your seed each year.
Yeah, and they've done that. I have heard young people, because you're my age.
Yep.
You got that dank Mexican weed, that bad stuff that had the seeds in it way back when. Oh, it was good. It was really good. Had red hairs and everything. Nowadays they're like, oh, I love the red hairs. I'm like, oh, well, ours had that. But it had seeds, too. And you could grow a seed in your closet and do whatever you had to do. But now, oh, you don't want to have any seeds. Well, you don't think that's a government plan.
Right.
How do you control everything?
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Control the seed.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're putting heritage seeds in cold storage around vault lockers built into the earth all over the world? There's 7 different places around the world where they have heritage seeds stored deep underground storage and climate-controlled systems in case something happens and they need to repopulate the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, those seed banks out there. They're called heritage seed banks, ladies and gentlemen, and you can look them up anywhere you want to on the government's website. Hell, you can go to the United Nations and find that information.
Yes, you can.
Now, that's a mighty
we can't get those seeds.
Thing. Oh, yeah. And you know what? They've got every strain of natural cannabis in there.
As much as I love cannabis and I have cannabis seeds, I have more. As much as I love cannabis, and I think that we should regain our cannabis, including the seeds, which means let your stuff grow seeds and get them and plant them everywhere. You should think about that with your tomatoes. Even if you live in the city, think it through.
Yeah.
And I know our show is supposed to be about cannabis, but I am way into all this too. It goes further than cannabis. It's everything you consume. They are controlling it.
Well,
they have control of it. And you have to get seeds for everything. Anything you eat, save the seeds. Hopefully they grow. If it's bought from a grocery store, not a good chance. But if you grow it in your yard, you can save the seeds and then
but Dana,
plant
we
them again.
don't have to worry about that silliness anymore. We've got 3D printers. We can just print our steaks.
Yeah, whatever.
Seriously.
I saw the 3D printer on cannabis, and I was like, wow, that really scares me. If it had a tomato, it would have scared me worse, probably.
6 to 9 months ago, a year ago, somewhere in the last recent time, there was somebody who printed a steak on a 3D printer.
What did it taste like?
He said it tasted good, like any normal steak.
Oh, like any normal steak.
They did that.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. Like any normal steak?
Well, yeah. What's a normal steak today, man? Most steaks don't taste good after you get them off the grill. Don't try to eat it the next day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My stuff on my farm tastes better than anything I could buy in a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Even my tomatoes, even my cucumbers. Yep. I mean, it just...
Oh, I remember when tomatoes were so flavorful. It was just, in the,
I just had one of those tomatoes yesterday. It was great.
They taste good. And hell, today to get
because like people ask me about hydro.
Water, cardboard.
I'm a grower, but I grow in the dirt. That's where I grow things. It has to be in dirt. It has to have sunlight. That's how I grow things. I'm a farmer. And people will be like, well, I want to talk about hydroponics. I'm like, well, have you ever eaten a hydroponic tomato? Because even though I'm a farmer, in the middle of January, I might want a fresh tomato, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I used to be from the city, and I love these tomatoes, but I'd had more of my tomatoes, and then I bought a tomato in the winter, and it was a hydroponic tomato, and the deer wouldn't even eat it.
Yeah.
We opened it, we tasted it. I was like, dude, that tastes mealy. It's gross. It's not even food. And we threw it out to the deer. I didn't even want to give it to my own animals. I was like, no, we're not giving it to them. Let's throw it to the deer. The deer are, like, doing their thing. They walked past it.
Yep.
They didn't even touch it. And it never even decayed.
It smelled like food to them, yeah.
That fucker was still sitting like a tomato until I ran over it with a lawnmower. It was that bad.
We bought some tomatoes here, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and, man, they looked beautiful on the outside, and I cut one open, and it was half rotten on the inside. But it looked gorgeous on the outside. You could have softened it and took a big old bite, and you would have had a big old bite of rotten tomato. You could
probably would have loved it.
Outside. Yeah, you could not tell from the outside. But, yeah, I sliced it open. Oh, you would, I don't know how you could not have tasted. I didn't taste the damn thing. It was kind of dark purplish colored. It was rotten. Almost looked like it had, I thought I cut a worm in half at first. It was that nasty.
But now if you look at what most of the things people are eating, most people, let's think this through. If they buy fresh things, they're buying them from the grocery store, and usually it's from a hydroponic lab, right?
Pretty much, yep. Fresh grown in a hydroponic indoor area.
What we look for in our grocery store, because we're still in a rural area, we look for homegrown, because they will still buy from the locals, and we get that.
Right.
Other than that, it tastes like crap. But most of our kids, no matter how well you raise them, they want the things that are out there. They want the McDonald's. They want the Burger King.
Quick and easy.
That's not food.
Yep.
My daughter, I love her to death, thinks ramen noodles are food. I'm like, wow. You heard me this weekend. I'm like, when my husband bought her a whole case of ramen, I'm like, what is your problem and why are you giving that to her? And, it's just those things because it's not food. But they eat it. They eat it like crazy. They think it's food. And it's the same goes with our cannabis.
Yep.
If we here's one thing that I keep hearing from everyone. Oh, they have to decriminalize at the federal level. Well, they do because the feds don't have any power over us over that, do they?
Right.
They don't even have to decriminalize. Do you even recognize decriminalization? They never should have criminalized it at first.
Right. But it wasn't. Well, it's not that it was legal and needed to be made illegal or lawful and needed to be made unlawful. It was just a damn plant.
But is that one of the enumerated powers of the feds?
No, absolutely not.
Exactly. So the law is null and void. But we have our state laws based on those null and void federal laws. But even the state cannot regulate what you put in your body.
Yeah.
So we have these laws. We have these people, and they're like, well, we can't have this, and we can't have that, and we have to do this. Then we're taking all these instructions from high times, and we're not going to have any seeds. And that is how you rule a country. You take their house.
It absolutely is.
Take their food. He who rules the water, He who rules the food and he who rules the medicine owns everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I was read earlier, I paraphrased the statement from Jefferson about, if we let the government dictate, what we put in our food, our mouths as far as food and medicine, our bodies will be in a sorry state as a tyranny of the, country we're living under, or the king we're living under. That's not exactly what I said. I found the actual quote, but I couldn't find it earlier. But the way he said it's a little bit more dry sounding, but much more poignant. If you listen to it, but that's exactly it. They have no authority to tell us how we can do anything. Quite literally, no authority to tell us how we can do it. All they can tell us what to do is, gee, you shouldn't murder somebody. We kind of already know that, and the laws are not to stop people from committing crimes, but to punish those who did what they knew they shouldn't have done in the first place. In that respect. But even a lot of those are kind of, like you say, off on the edge. But yeah, they've way overstepped their power. There's no way they should be telling us how we can eat. That we got to buy our food from Myers or Walmart or even the local produce shop. Part of this in Midland County here, where they did the 5 acres thing, I see part of the problem, or part of the projection is first it's going to be chickens, next it's going to be tomatoes. You can't grow that squash unless you got 10 acres. That squash is going to need all the energy out of 10 acres to grow that squash plant. So
they've already done that in the cities. They've already told people in the cities. I talked to Dustin today, and he said, they told us we can't have gardens. And he's not sure where he is, and he was like, we can't have gardens. I'm like, well, no, I guess you can't because you have an ordinance. But you can because you have to take control. Because that takes us back to the Communist Manifesto. You're familiar with that, right?
Oh, but that's just conspiracy theory. That's not real. That's made up by some guys back in the 1800s who were just joking. Yeah,
okay. That's why all 10 planks have been manifested in America?
Pretty much implemented, yeah. Good joke, guys. Well, Dana, we're at the last 45 seconds here, hon. I think we're going to I got a topic for tomorrow, and we could take the whole hour and beat it up.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be down at Clio, so I will try to be on my fancy phone, so we'll see how that works.
Okay, if you can call in, we can get you on. I'm going to, we'll do the show tomorrow, and if I can get down there, I don't know if I might be able to get down there Friday night for a while, and if I can't,
Friday night and Saturday are the best.
Really enough to do the show down there.
At Clio Cultivators.
Right.
And I'll give them a plug. Clio Cultivators. Go there. They're going to be open for vendors, people, everything. Tim will try to do the show from there, and it's a good deal.
Thanks a lot for listening, folks. I think that's it. Yeah, it looks like we just dropped off the air. It's got a couple seconds overplay here. Give me that information, and I'll make sure I blast it out tomorrow.
Clio Cultivators.
Yep. And I'll make sure, just, so remind me of it. We should be off air, I think. We might be kind of playing through here a little bit. But I don't think anybody else will be able to hear it, but it will go to the podcast. And we can keep talking, and this will be on archive.
Right on.
The live broadcast pretty much ended about 30 seconds ago, I'd say.
Right on.
So, yeah, if we get that information, I can put that out there, too.
And it's Clio Cultivators. They do a thing before the Cup every Friday, and then they do something Saturday night for those that don't want to stay at the Cup because there's no camping at the Cup, and then they come back to Clio. He has a band both nights. He has vendors both nights, and we're going to camp there. Free camping all weekend. Cool. And,
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that can happen in between.
Right. Well, like you were talking earlier, like I said, this is going to be on archive, so it'll record over, and then anybody who missed it will be able to catch up this last half hour, or, catch the whole show. Earlier I was talking, about this new bill that was put in for the recreational legalization already. A year before we even vote on it, nobody even knows if anybody's got enough, signatures to get there. That tells me government's looking at doing their own thing already, trying to take control of it.
Well, Jeff Irwin has reintroduced his bill, too.
Yep.
From what I
I
understand.
know it, but I don't see
decrim.
the judiciary putting out a bill to track seed to sale unless they are absolutely positive something's coming down the pike that they are going to have control of.
Oh, yeah. That's Jeff Irwin's bill.
Yep.
He had it out 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember the bill number, but it's his decrim bill, and it would decrim it across the state, but it would have a $100 fine and fee for the first offense, a $500 for the second,
right.
blah, 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 down the line.
Go to jail.
But it opens up, even just for the state police to just pull you over.
Right.
And there's your, because it doesn't say how you can transport it, whatever.
Right.
Anything, and it has to be 1 ounce.
Yeah, I found it interesting that bill come up, and then with the provisioning center and the changes that they've been throwing in that we were aware of, let alone the ones that we're not aware of, that they'll probably try to tag on as a rider at the last minute, like they always do. I've been saying it for months. Even though there's no evidence out there that says this is going to happen, I absolutely believe somewhere in the time between the time it gets introduced and the time it gets passed, one of these bills that the state is pushing through is going to have, unwarranted compliance checks for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Because I think they think they got their 75%, or else they wouldn't be pushing the 4209 and 4210 through. They're going to push those through. They're not going to push them through unless they can control them completely, which means they think they got their 75% supermajority, which they need, a small percentage, 10, 12% of the Democrats to vote with them. And if that's the case, we need to repeal that damn act, because that will be the last. If they get their 75% supermajority and can rewrite it, we may as well call ourselves Ohio, and we decrimmed in 2000, and our state said, screw you, we're not doing it. Because that's what happens.
No, that's when you turn around and you say, we are medical marijuana patients, and we are going to uphold our act, and screw you.
Well,
it's like some of those dispensaries that have stayed open after they've been told to close.
Right.
It's happened.
Oh, yes, I know it. I know it. We see it. Oh, no, that's not happening, but the only way it cannot happen is somebody is closing their eyes because they're arresting people right next door.
Yep.
So, you cannot say, oh, we didn't know about that one. Yeah, bull crap. If half the state knows about it in the patient community, the cops know about it.
But like I was saying with SB 660.
Yeah.
Like I was saying with SB 660, but I was trying to push it along because we were getting close to time. If that passes, if federal decriminalization, if the feds say, oh, we're going to decrim marijuana, which if enough states have bills like SB 660, which I can look in my thing to see what the public act is, what happens after the feds decrim?
660 goes automatically into flow because it was passed by by the fast tracking vote.
2 weeks. How many bills go through in 2 weeks? None.
Yeah. Only the ones they really know they're going to have control over.
Yeah. So, when the feds decrim, which everybody's like, oh, the feds got to decrim. I keep reminding them, SB 660 kicks in. Yep. That means Prairie Plant Systems moves in from Canada, and they take over everything.
Yep.
Moldy cannabis and all that, and you can't grow cannabis in your own home.
Yep, there's your 10 state grows. So I'm at I'm coming around to your side of things, and the more the government has done, up until 6 months ago, even I'll say it, 3 days ago, I was still thinking we might be able to work with the act. But we've got a year. How many more changes are they going to slice through there if they get their 75% supermajority, which I believe they have? What changes are they going to slide through there? It's been slowly turned, not too slowly, but slow enough. It took them 6 years because we do have a strong people's initiative that they've totally ignored in this case, to get it here. But I'm at the point we need to take that club right out of their hands and burn the damn thing.
Well, because Tim, I'm going to say this over the air right now.
Yep.
The other night, you might have eaten medical cannabis in my house.
Might have.
That would be against the law.
I don't know.
Did you feel like you were breaking the law when you ate that popcorn?
Oh, absolutely not.
Right, but they would think you broke the law.
Pretty tasty popcorn.
I know. It tasted really good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they would think it was not legal.
Yeah, well, that's because now they're calling it an analog. I mean, they're not even calling it any preparation thereof. They're saying
it's a whole different drug.
We're not quite sure what it is. It's some unknown chemical, and it's going to be treated with the most harshest versions. And it's the same thing that they arrested people for last month that they, were eating caramels from. So,
right.
When you're making dangerous caramel, people, it may jump out, grab your gun, and kill somebody.
No shit. Or, I'm going to give Steve Green, Marie and Steve Green, Free Bree, I'm going to give them a hat tip right now. He put something out there today. He goes, that cannabis is going to break out, and it's going to destroy your lives. I'm like, oh, that aggressive cannabis, go figure. Right, and then some people were like, oh, the cannabis gangs, the cannabis is going to come.
Yep,
I mean, it was funny because somebody had put that.
Gotta watch out for those 9-leaf ones. They're vicious. That 9-leaf plant, it's brutal. It's vindictive. It will not stop until you are dead.
And enough of us have sat through those expert opinions in the court cases.
Oh, yeah.
Have you not sat through a few? I mean, my favorite was in Kevin Aberhart's case, and that was Alpena, Michigan, and that dumb woman, and I will tell you her name later, she said, cannabis will cause hallucinations. And I was actually getting to sit above the bar, which was amazing for me because I may or may not write motions and help people through stuff, but this guy, he goes, come up here. So I came up and sat, and he goes, all right. And then the prosecutor tried to kick me off, and the judge said I could stay, so I was like, right on. But then we're sitting there, and she gets up on the stand, and she says marijuana causes hallucinations. And the defendant put his head down, and I put my head down, and I'm doodling on my paper because I don't want to laugh, and the gallery behind me is laughing. I mean, they're outright laughing. And the judge says, we will have to remove you. And Nancy, Jim's old lady, she goes, well, it was funny. And he goes, but you have to calm down. I mean, because she was like, I can't not laugh, and we went to lunch afterwards. I was like, I really want that cannabis that causes hallucinations. I've never had that cannabis.
Right.
But that's what they think. That's what the experts think. And that is what we're missing. Because people are like, we know the truth. We know it doesn't cause hallucinations. We know it doesn't cause addiction. We know it doesn't cause death. We know it helps you. We know what it does. We know when you're having a bad day and you're feeling down, you can ingest cannabis, and it will make you happy.
Yeah. Well,
we know that if your life is really shitty, you can ingest cannabis and your life is a little less shitty. We know if your life is chaotic and you're ADD like I am, you can smoke a little cannabis and you can actually fight court cases and win. That's what we know. And that is fact. And we know that.
There's a nice little hidden that doesn't get talked about here much in the state because the talking heads and fountainheads don't want to expose this too much, but a lot of people are winning their own court cases, no lawyers, because they are fighting with the tools that they were given.
Yes.
But they gotta fight. Most people are rolling over and taking the plea, but the people who are saying, no, I did nothing wrong, you're going to have to kill me or put me in jail before I admit to doing something wrong, are having their cases dismissed. Yes. As long as they're properly presenting the proper evidence, and the proper information, the proper facts.
Yes. I've had many of them.
It can be done without a lawyer, folks. I've talked to, I bet you, 10 people in the last year who either have won their own cases or helped people won their own, not counting you maybe or may not.
I would say that probably in the last 2 years or 3 years, since 2012, and not all just cannabis cases, just cases that you want to take to court. I mean, because I will tell you right now, leveling the playing field does not just deal with cannabis. We deal with anything that isn't quite right. And we have dealt with AT&T violations. that didn't happen. Assault that didn't happen. And a lot of cannabis that didn't happen. Like transportation law.
Yep.
Anyone who actually knows the act knows that you're allowed to transport, right?
Right.
But then the legislation wrote a new act, and Article 425 of the Michigan Constitution says you cannot change one act by creating a new act.
Yeah.
So we all know the transportation law is void.
I think is how it says. Yeah, I think it says something about changing an act by title, which they're going to change another act, which is going to make administrative
by title
change
only.
In one that's not only. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's by title only.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
by title
and
only.
so we can't do that. So we've won transportation cases on that. We've won
funny how none of those
coon cases. I call them coon cases, but they're DUI cases.
Yeah.
Internal possession. Coon ruled that out, so we've won those.
None of those, none of those cases have ever been published by the lawyers that won them.
Right.
Funny how that.
And then Doug Henry, he was my favorite case of all. He was one of my first ones. I won't say my case because I'm not a lawyer, right? But he was funny because every time he had 3 public defenders. They all tried to quit. 2 of them got to, but 1 didn't. Because the judge is like, well, we've already had 2 quit. You have to stay. And so he stayed, and Doug kept saying, I'm not guilty. I'm not guilty. I've not committed a crime. And he hadn't committed a crime. Right. They were using the commingling law, which is not a law. It's an AG opinion. Right. The word commingling, we kept saying, where is he getting commingling? We're not seeing it in the law. We're, looking the medical marijuana law up back and forth. That's why I know it so well, because that was, my first medical marijuana case. He goes, do you ingest cannabis? I'm like, yes, I'm not a card holder, so I don't know what your law says. So we looked up the law, and we're reading it, and I'm like, no, it doesn't say that. Nowhere does it say that. We had to go through all the AG opinions before we found commingling. But the cops were saying commingling. And the judge was saying commingling.
Yep.
And we're like, no.
There was a case in Grand Rapids, I think, in 2010 when the arrest happened. The case, I think, came in 2012, where a guy...
They're calling it King.
It could have been. I mean, somebody had
yes, but they were
where they were helping other people to do it. Yeah, and that was,
they had 34 plants. They might have been doing the cannabis cancer thing, but whatever. They had way more plants than they were allowed. This dude had all the plants they were allowed.
Well,
in fact, less.
Well, the case that I was talking about, there was 3 or 4 caregivers, and one guy was helping him, but all the plants were in one room. They were all together.
That was the commingling case. That was King Blonick.
But when you took all the caregivers and the guy himself, who was his own caregiver, who was growing there, they were under their total number of plants. If you added them all together as individuals, the total number of plants, they were under that, and they were under the weights of what was considered dry and usable. But they were not locked and secured from each other. And that's where, Schuette's trying to put that in there. And I can distinctly remember in 2000.
But even the Supreme Court didn't say it was wrong.
Well,
did you hear the Supreme Court say it was wrong?
No, I do. I was just going to
say. The Supreme Court actually said they were okay.
Well, one of the Supreme Court justices, one of the gals, I don't remember which one, distinctly made the comment, well, if I'm a husband or I'm a wife and me and my husband are both growing, there's, of course there's some common thing there with husband and wife, but, where does it say that we need to have our stuff in separate locked facilities? Mm-hmm. There's nothing in the law that says this. She was talking to the prosecutor who was, in the Supreme Court talking about this case. And it was been a few years ago, so I don't remember which one it was. But she brought up that very topic. If I'm a wife and me and my husband are both growing, there's nothing in here that says these need to be separated.
And the Supreme Court knocked it back down to the appellate court.
Yep.
But our Attorney General ran with his ball and said,
the top law
legal.
Dog in the state.
Yeah. So he made his, that's the only place we found it. We didn't find it in the Supreme Court case. We didn't find it in the law. We found it in his opinion.
Yep.
And that's what we kept bringing up in court.
Yep. Now
so we went through, we got we had to,
Sorry, go ahead.
We had to pay the hush money to Shapiro, which if anybody hears, I'm not a fan of Shapiro because you have to pay a lot of money to get him to go to court. And a doctor should back up his product all day long. But we finally got Shapiro there, and Shapiro did a good job. And then Doug Henry, and this is where I'm going to tell you people, if you don't show up to a court case, they may or may not take you to jail because he didn't show up. He called me. He goes, Dana, I didn't show up for court. And I was like, wow, you didn't show up for court? He goes, no. I go, they tell you we're in contempt? He goes, no. They asked me to take a deferred to wait for Hartwick and Tuttle. I said, Hartwick and Tuttle has nothing to do with you. And he goes, well, you met Doug and Pam this weekend.
Yep.
But he goes, well, I know, but they're saying they want to hold. I said, what did you tell him? He goes, well, I told him no. I said, okay, so do we need to go across the bridge? Because we were going to have to go up north, And I was like, so should I get dressed and ready? He goes, no, they told me just to wait at home. I said, okay, I'll wait because I'm freaking. This is like one of my first, put quote unquote clients,
Right.
Because, and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we'll just wait then. And his attorney called back, his little public offender, and he goes, well, you see, we decided to throw out the court case. So he calls me back. He goes, case dismissed. I'm like, right on.
Right.
Yeah. So he should have got contempt of court because he didn't show up. And yet they dropped it. We have the transcripts of the last moment in court. And they said this is just a matter of a man being 2 plants over on his count plant. But it wasn't really the case because it was 2 roommates living together, and they were way under.
Right.
So they really had no case. But that's what they want to do. They want to scare you. And it's the same courthouse that Stephanie Turpinning has her case in. And they just want to scare people.
Oh, absolutely.
And somebody told me at her court case, the judge was saying, well, is this like the Doug Henry case? And he was like, well, yeah, it is,
Now that you
but it was outside
Honor.
while they were outside, and I mean, you just got to apply it.
Yeah.
And I would say the first time they come to my house as a non-card holder, I will be all about the natural rights, my natural right to consume, my natural right to do what I want, and I might not win. I might do 5 to 10 in federal prison, but, it'll be worth it because that would be the right way.
I would hope not. I hope that doesn't come to pass. We need those voices like you, but that's what they try to do is shut you down, people talking about and speaking the truth, the stuff that the government don't want anybody else thinking about because, well, geez, you might actually have your own idea then. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. We got a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, I'm after the last couple of days and looking at what's happening here and, and just getting a gut feeling this, this Senate, this legislature believes they've got their 75%.
And they probably do.
They've had to do their backroom deals. Yeah, what are they going to do when they've been talking about changing the act. We can't do this. We can't allow that since we passed it before Bob Redden was even arrested.
Right.
They've been talking about usurping the act and making changes to it. So, I'm coming around to your way of thinking, at this point there is, I think, no saving it, which is really sad. There's been a lot of blood loss, a lot of life loss in this very state because of the state's willful ignorance and unwillingness and willful usurpation of the will of the people. What we call the Medical Marijuana Act. Plenty of people have died. Plenty of people have been taken off their medicine and died. And this is, what we want to give legalization to? I don't care what you give them. That's crazy. They need to be told
me, I'm a
what
fan
to
of
do.
1937 or 36.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm at the point now where I think, if we're going to have any sanity after 2006, at the point now I'm thinking if we're going to repeal it, the Medical Marijuana Act is going to be moot. I was leaving it, going to leave it in place, to kind of punish the government, to make them uphold it, reconfirm it by a vote of the people in, my amendment, or, my constitutional amendment here. Change a few things, that they've changed for the bad. Leave the good stuff that they've added, the new conditions, the cheaper card. Get rid of the $25. They want to charge $25 for the background check. it can come out of the $60 that the patient pays to get his card in the first place. If he wants to, because that patient has to name the caregiver, which means
you got to get rid of the felony thing. If anybody's going to keep the Medical Marijuana Act, get rid of the felony. I'm sorry, what caregiver who can grow pot does not have a freaking felony on his record for the same act that he's fulfilling right now?
Well,
but
that's
they don't
the way
care.
it was originally. I will say that was kind of messed up, that you could be a pedophile, have a felony arrest for pedophile and rape, and be able to be a CG, but not have a felony for distributing drugs or marijuana before in your past, and now all of a sudden you're not. Well, that's the guy you should have had. That's the guy who knows how the business works, how to make and get the people the best stuff for the cheapest money. That's probably why they kept him out of the bill. Yeah, I mean, it had
and that was
problems,
designed.
but I thought it was really good. But since the state's been doing their crap to it, the last 3 years especially, this is just going to be a bigger knife and a bigger sword that's going to keep cutting people's heads off. And the only way we're going to be able to stop it is just take it out of their hands. So
that's why I say marijuana will be the next revolution.
Yep, I believe by Monday the draft B, which I am writing, is going to be talking about repealing the Medical Marijuana Act now. But it's not just going to say repeal it. I'm going to cite the reasons why it's going to be repealed. Like the government's woeful unwillingness to constitutionally follow the will of the people as they are mandated they must, because we have the political power, because we are the people. It's inherent in us. It says so in Section 1 of the Constitution of this state. Unless the legislature wants to say the
Constitution, it's not just Section 1, honey.
Says good.
Honey, it's not just Section 1. It's Section 1, Article 1. It's Article 1, Section 1, political power. Section 1, all political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal benefit, security, and protection.
Period.
Period.
Yeah, inherent in the people, period. Not a comma. Not in the people as long as the government says so. Nope. In the people, period. Periods are a great thing in the English language.
Yeah.
So, you're absolutely right.
We got to be done begging for crumbs.
Yep. So, I mean,
Lansing has a $54 billion budget for 9.9 million people.
Yep.
They have so much money stuck into funds.
Yep, $18 billion in the kitty, and we're $74 billion in debt. If the state's doing so good, how come the debt's still growing?
Because they keep putting it in the funds.
And the money coming in is not catching up to the growth rate of the debt. The debt is outgrowing the money coming in. So we're not, in the black, people. We are far in the red. We call our national.
But if you like that new Batman film,
I haven't
you paid
seen
for it. You paid for it.
I wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't surprise me.
You paid for Ben Affleck to have happy homes and happy stuff, and the whole time he was here. Shostak, his family and all their stuff, and Illich, and we paid for all that.
Yep.
We're paying for lots of oppression and tyranny.
Hollywood.
Even up here in northern Michigan, we're paying for cranes and tax abatements and all that for a little happy ironwork dude, and.
Well, make sure you put in your overtime next week. Illich needs that new stadium built.
Yep.
I mean, I love hockey,
go.
and I'm a Red Wings fan. They're a great hockey team. But I'll support them by buying a ticket to their damn game. Or buying
half people can't afford to pay a ticket.
Shelf, but I shouldn't be charged taxes on my property taxes, which we are. So, I'm looking at this, and the act, if it stays and they got their 75% supermajority, which I believe they do, which means once they change it, they can change it any way they want to. And we're just going to see that axe get bigger and the edge get sharper and more bloodshed coming off it. And there's only one way we can stop that at this point, and that's to repeal it with prohibition, which is a good thing because the medical act is moot. I wrote in the little draft that I'm bringing together for repeal and abrogation that your doctors cannot deny you. They can't deny you tests. They can't deny you services. And if they do, guess what? They're going to be guilty of bringing harm up against their people for denying them services. You know, because a doctor cannot deny you. So, I mean, there is going to be no need for the Medical Marijuana Act. I wanted to keep it because I understand a lot of people who may be new to the cannabis scene or maybe was, you know, a user way back when they were kids and now have kids of their own may want that doctor involved. I don't agree with it. I don't need a doctor involved, but that's their choice. You know, and so I was hoping we could save the act and keep it because a lot of people may want to talk to their doctor about cannabis. And this would allow them to feel comfortable to do so, and you know, doctors may be a little bit more comfortable. Not only do we have an act, but it's repealed and they can't be held accountable. But, you know, the more the state goes on, we still got a year for the election, and every week there's a new surprise coming out about how the state's going to, you know, do this or do that with, you know, recreational legalization, or do this or do that with the Medical Marijuana Act, which, you know, makes you and me and more of these people out here targets and victims of the system, and actually victims of the act we passed, which should have been a compassionate act. So I'm at the point now, unless somebody can really give me some good reasons, we may be looking at repealing that puppy.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I just don't know how else we can do it.
The original act, look at the medical use on that act.
Mm-hmm.
Medical use says transfer, transport, internal possession, possession. It says everything that they've changed. Everything.
Everything except the word sale. That's the only thing it didn't have. And the only reason it doesn't include the word sale is the Public Health Code does not use the word sale in the the criminalization penalty side of the Public Health Code for transportation, delivery, acquisition of cannabis or cultivation. It said everything but sale.
Because lawyers wrote it.
The Medical Marijuana Act didn't say sale. And now they say, well, you didn't talk about sale, so that's illegal.
Yes, but even barter is illegal.
Yeah.
But the sugar law doesn't talk about sales, does it?
Yeah, nope, it's not illegal.
No.
They just want to say it's illegal because, well, it's the unspoken illegal, but, you know, that's not how our law and our government works.
Right.
You know, what's written
but,
in
like,
the law
under the Medical Marijuana Act, if hold on, Tim. Under the Medical Marijuana Act, if you have sugar, if you have marijuana, and I don't, can you loan me a cup?
I can. You'll be safe. If
No.
there's a cop at the date, I'll go to jail.
Yes. And so will I.
You'll be safe, but I'll go to jail.
I'm not a patient, so we'll both go to jail. Okay?
Right.
Now, patient to patient, maybe you would go to jail and I wouldn't, but I'm not a patient, so I would go to jail too.
Probably.
But if you loan me a cup of sugar, would you go to jail?
If you're not registered, I would. You would too.
Yeah. But if you loan me a cup of sugar, will you go to jail?
Absolutely. If there's
a cup of sugar?
There.
A cup of sugar?
Oh, for a real cup of sugar, no.
Yeah.
For real.
So a cup of cannabis. No, I'm saying.
No, I can start it on fire and
let's
throw
say
it
I want to make oil, so I'm making oil. So I
need
need a cup of cannabis for my recipe to make oil that's going to save my cancer or my thyroid problem, right?
Or epilepsy, yeah.
You can't loan me the cup of cannabis, can you?
Nope.
You can loan me the cup of sugar.
Yep.
Which one has a higher addictive rate?
Sugar definitely does, yeah.
But it's not federally regulated.
Mm-hmm.
The regulators don't have the regulation rules.
Yep.
You know, so that's where it comes.
It's regulated, but you don't get in trouble for growing it or selling it or giving it away.
At all. I can grow my acre of sugar. I can give you an acre of sugar. I can give you a cup of sugar.
Yep,
but if I grow my acre of cannabis and I give you a cup of cannabis, we're all going to jail.
Yep, but yes, because sugar
and that is where it's so fundamentally challenged.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the perversion and depth of dissuasion and diversion are just almost too deep to speak about. But
right on.
Exposed. I mean, they're out there. I don't know how people can look at this and say, "Oh, but that's okay. Legalization will fix it." They're telling you they're going to monitor you under legalization. They're telling you you are going to break your own Fourth Amendment rights.
And it's going to stop all those flyovers we're paying for, right? No, because they're still going to be looking for their 13 plants that are surrounded by gates and locks and...
Well, contract says 93% occupancy, so they got, state signed the contract, and they got to live up to 93% occupancy in the private prison system, prison for profit structure going in.
Mm-hmm.
So, people out there, who do you think is going to be going to this 93% of prisons? You or Bill Schuette's kid? Or Kessel's kid? Or one of these high-end, Fountainhead's kids? They're going to be going to jail.
Or your local governor, or your local freaking judge, or your local prosecutor.
Or is it going to be you, your neighbor?
I live in Presque Isle County, Michigan. We know that our prosecutor uses OxyContin. We know that he snorts it. We know that he doctor shops. We know that he got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a judge. We know that he has had multiple DUIs that they put under the rug. We know he uses cocaine. We know he smokes marijuana.
Yep.
And that's what we live in Presque Isle County, Michigan. I'm not even from Presque Isle, but I know about it.
Yep.
Same thing goes on in Sheboygan County, because we have one judge that has DUIs, and the tow truck driver will be like, I just pulled Judge Barton out of the ditch. But will he go to court and say it? No. And that's what we deal with even up here in little old small-town northern Michigan.
Yep. In the 90s, one of our well-known, very well-connected judges in the area was pulled over in Gladwin County for drunk driving and had to do weekends in Gladwin County. What was he doing for the week? Sitting on the bench, putting people in the jail for 2 to 4 years for drunk driving, while he's going up on the weekends and sitting in Gladwin County jail for drunk driving.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, was well known to be, slinging a little bit of the white powder, involved in some of that too back in the day. He's dead now, but yeah, that's happened here in the 90s and 80s. It was well known in the township that he was doing his weekends up in Gladwin while putting people in jail for doing the same thing he's doing weekends on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the hypocrisy, your laws, these laws that we created don't apply to me. The Constitution applies to them, but everything else that they created applies to us. Just like they can use cannabis, but you can't.
And it's supposed to be the opposite, isn't it?
But you can't.
It's supposed to be the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah,
the Constitution is supposed to rein them in,
exactly.
And the codes and statutes are supposed to be for them. Codes and statutes were never supposed to rein us. We were supposed to live under common law.
Well, a code.
There's no victim, there's no crime.
Yeah.
All codes and statutes were supposed to. Right. And they were supposed to govern the people who made them. If they made them, they were to govern them.
Right. I've been looking for a bank, to deal with getting donations. And their policy is they don't want to give me an account without a federal EIN number, even though if I was running for governor, I could use my Social Security number. If I hire you as my committee person, you're the treasurer of my governor hiring committee, you can use your Social Security number. But every bank I've talked to, because I'm not running for a political office, I'm putting a ballot question up, I've been told my Social Security number will not work. I need a federal EIN number. Even though the State Department or Board of Electors, Finance Department, told me there's no need for a federal EIN because you're running a state ballot. You're not even dealing with federal stuff here. So you don't need a federal EIN. But so I'm, that hurdle is being thrown even, nonchalantly in my face. So yeah,
Are we over that hurdle, or do we have an EIN, or do we have?
No, it looks like she's the gal at the bank's going to check some things out. I was talking to the supervisor, and she's going to make some calls. I'm like, call the State Board of Canvassers. I had a statement of organization blank one with me, and I flipped it over, and here's the number. She, that's a state document. Yeah, I'm filing with the state. Of course that's a state document. You call the Board of Canvassers and push 2, that's going to Financial Department. Within 30 seconds, they'll be on the phone. And just ask them. I got a guy here putting a ballot question committee together. He's a treasurer, and he wants to use a Social Security number for the bank account. Can we do that legally? And they'll tell him, yeah. He's the one taking the risk. It doesn't matter if I'm the treasurer of a committee for the governor, if I'm the treasurer of my own committee to be governor, or if I'm just the treasurer of a committee to pass an election. I should be able to just set up an account that people can write a donation to the committee name. But no,
right.
I got to commit, donations to me. It's like, that's not how it works. It's simple
It's not
law.
in the plan.
So yeah,
Not part of the plan.
Kind of a pain in the butt. So no, I was supposed to get a bank account yesterday, and when I got there to go in and do all the paperwork, no, we need a federal EIN. No, and she pulled out her little bank book that said this is what you got to do, and it said in there, her instructions in her little bank book said pretty much, if a committee, the treasurer will be the person who submits the TIN, tax ID number, and this tax ID number will be the EIN, right? The electronic information data. And she's trying to tell me I got to give her a federal EIN number. I was like, no. It says whatever I give you for my TIN number, tax ID number, which is my Social Security number. That then will be turned as the thing. And she's trying to say that's not how it works. I'm like, yeah, it is. Your book just says that. It's a statement. It says if I give you a number and it's my Social Security number, that's going to be your EIN for this account. So it would have took the woman 5 minutes to call the state, get the financial department on the phone, and ask them a very simple question: can you use the Social Security number? They would have said absolutely. That's part of the political process. Because her worry was, well, I may get in trouble if some funds get misdirected. I go, honey, if I'm the only one writing the check, I'm in trouble anyways.
Right. I'm going to be the misdirection of funds, dude.
The federal EIN or my Social Security, I'm still going to prison for voter fraud.
Right.
I don't want to go to prison. It's maddening because I've had 3 banks tell me this now. And if I get 2 more to tell me, I'm about damn ready to file a federal discrimination and voter intimidation suit against them. Because that would be my constitutional right, damn it. Because they are inhibiting my right to have my vote be heard.
Mm-hmm. Under the, hey, wait. I'm not going to say it, but that depends on what kind of government you want to have.
Oh, absolutely right. But I'll make them be the government they're supposed to be,
But under the Michigan government that says that we're allowed to be Democrat, we have that right.
You mean Republican?
And we definitely have it.
Oh, yeah.
They just have to make it difficult every step of the way. Everything we do. It cannot be easy.
Goodness.
It cannot. If it was, the process would be totally eliminated. And that all goes back to the usurpation of powers.
Yeah.
Because that bitch that you talked to used to work for us.
Yep.
She used to. And now she has a new hierarchy. Even though it's a bank. The bank used to call us customers.
Nope.
Now we're just peons.
Depositors. The fiduciary of the actual bank.
We're cattle fodder.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't been using real money since Nixon took us off the gold standard, it was kind of fiat back then anyways, but taking it off the gold and, removing it from the gold and silver really made it worthless.
Yeah.
At least before 71, you could take a $20 bill and actually go into the bank and get $20 in gold out.
No, not anymore.
Not after 1971. I think it was around March or April. I think the Federal Reserve, that change went into place where you
Nixon said we have to turn it all in. Dun, dun,
yep.
dun.
Well, that happened in the 30s. It's funny, you hear revisionists today, and they say, the revisionists will tell you, well, Nixon saved the Federal Reserve note. No, he set it free. He didn't save it. He set it free like a rapist and a pedophile in a daycare.
He gave us more debt to go on
our
debt.
All the power they needed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dana, she's about 11:40 here. I'm getting kind of worn down.
Yeah, and I'm getting tired.
Me too,
Are you going to meet me over tomorrow at Cannabis Cup, or Friday at Cannabis Cup?
I'm going to try. I'm doing some work over at Dom's there, trying to get some stuff up. He's planning on being there Saturday himself. He's got just general admission tickets, so him and his lady's going to be around. So we're not going to be doing anything at his place Saturday. I know we won't be done, but I got to spend a little time with my daughter at the local fair. We always make a local fair. So I might try to get over there Friday night. It kind of depends on what time I get done with Dom's and how I'm feeling. But after the fair Saturday, if everything's, we don't get out too late. We usually go in the afternoon before it's too crazy. So after the fair Saturday, I'll try to get out there. But if we get done at Dom's early enough Friday, I may be able to get home, get cleaned up, and come out for a couple hours anyways.
Right, because you have most of my printouts, and I'm going to pass them out throughout the weekend. Because I'm going to be at 2 different booths, so I'll be able to pass it out. So
well, your printout
among my notification,
all
my other stuff.
Back in your office, I think. I only took a couple of the extra ones. Like I got one of the little pamphlet books, and then like 2 of the introductions and draft days. I just grabbed 2 of those.
Oh, I figured you took them all. All right, then I have them.
Nope,
all right,
everything
cool.
else there. Yep, they all should be there.
I
only grabbed a couple, so I had a few copies from a briefcase.
Right on, because I'm going to let people look at them and pass them out, and
yep,
we're going to do this
put them
thing.
in your office, right
folder.
on the edge of your desk.
Right on.
There's a pile of papers there that they set there. So.
Yeah, I just threw them in my briefcase. Then I thought it was all my nullification stuff. So if it's some of that, then I'll pass it out if you don't show up.
Some of that too. Yep, it should be.
Right on. Now I can print some more out too, though.
Yep, that thing
right
that's in there that should be all full of that stuff. I only grabbed a couple of them, so you had them all.
Right on. All right.
Cool.
I will see you then.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Dana.
And I'll try to call in tomorrow night.
Okay,
all right,
cool.
Bye.
Yeah. I'll be sitting here and we'll call in. Like I say, I think we're going to talk about the act and what the state's been doing to it, and try to look at the broach's idea of just repealing it. I think that's where we need to bring this conversation before we start putting petitions out. Obviously.
Right on.
Between now and then, I think it's going to get worse, and I think more people are going to come to that realization, anyways.
Right on.
Okay,
all right,
honey,
talk to you later.
Good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Well, we'd like to thank you all for joining us. Been another extended episode of MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. Looks like BlogTalkRadio has their stuff working again. We'll be back tomorrow night. For those of you listening on, the extended version on the replay, the rebroadcast, archive show, and you got a little bit of extra pre-warning of what's going to be happening possibly tomorrow, the discussion we're going to be having, not what's going to be happening, but the discussion we're going to be having. Tell everybody, we need to get people looking at this. I am a hardened supporter of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act when it was passed and when we passed it. The state has already perverted it, and they're not slowing down. And it's just going to become a more dangerous club that we will be forced to live under. And they would have twisted what we made as an act of compassion into another money-making machine of authority for the state. And we can't have that. As Dana said, thanks for calling in, or thanks for listening in. And you folks, hopefully you can join us tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That would be 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, folks. Good night.